Jim, this program has always maintained a high level of expectations, particularly since you took over in 2002. After a brief one-year absence from the NCAA tournament, you found yourself back in the hunt for a championship. What's your main takeaway from last year, and how are you applying it to this season?
Main takeaway it was good to get back into the tournament again and make sure that wasn't an extended period that we weren't involved in that. It's become incredibly difficult to qualify for the tournament in our region with the number of quality teams coming out of our conference, the MIAA and the GAC. So that continues to be the understanding that we're going to have to be really good, play high quality volleyball against a lot of really good teams in order to get there, and certainly that's the goal I think most teams are setting, and we aren't an exception to that.
Team went 25-5 last year, and you lost a couple main pieces, mainly Sydney Mock, who was the program's all-time blocks leader. Who has the inside edge to fill in those holes?
Yeah, we anticipate Abby Thor, who's a sophomore middle blocker who got some experience last year, to fill in for Sydney's role, and obviously big shoes to fill. Abby's strengths are certainly her blocking, and she's becoming more of an offensive player for us. So there's growth to be done, but we're excited about the future for her. With Taylor Wisbroker, we've got both Hannah Meyer returning as a sophomore. Hannah had a great spring, so we're hoping that she can continue with that growth for her. And then incoming freshman Kate Berg is also going to be in there battling for playing opportunities. Extremely talented, all-state outside hitter from down in the cities, and those two are going to be in for a battle all year long.
Speaking of, your club has always had a solid foundation. Very key pieces are returning for your club. Emily Torv attained NSIC Freshman of the Year honors last season. Sarah Kelly was named an All-American. Mainly with those two, do you think they can top their performances from last year?
Well, yeah, the expectation always has to be individually. You're going to continue to grow as you go throughout your 4 years in the program, or 5 if you're a redshirt. So, from an individual perspective, I think both would anticipate continuing to get better and understand expectations rise. The big thing is figuring out our new leadership and our new team chemistry and personality, and working on gelling together as a group, and that involves all of our individuals. So that's really what these last 2 weeks have been about, and we're trying to get better on the court, get better off the court, and try to be ready to go here in another week.
Speaking of your preseason, your 2 weeks that you've had to kind of look over your club, what have you liked personally from your club?
I really like their energy, a lot of high energetic personalities on that court, so the energy in the gym has been great. They get along great, they have a really good time. They've been battling really hard in the gym, back and forth. We're seeing points being extended a lot longer than maybe we have in previous years, so I think there's potential for this team to be really a good defensive team. A lot of work to do in a lot of departments though, and I'm sure we're not alone in that capacity, so we don't get ahead of ourselves. We're just working every day to get better.
And speaking of that, what's kind of your main concern that you're seeing?
Just consistency, reducing errors, being terminal and finding ways to finish points while at the same time not being error prone and ending points from a negative perspective, and that just comes with repetition and practice.
So at Romano, this program has won 86% of their games. Last year, UMD had the 4th best home attendance in all of Division II, #1 in the NSIC. You've always made a statement to your teams that you have to defend home court. You're standing here right now, getting close to ready to scrimmage in front of 2,000 freshmen. How valuable is it to play at home with this fan base?
It's tremendous. It's such an advantage. It energizes the kids and the program, and gets that atmosphere in here that's fun to play in front of, and it's just a great experience for the players on both sides of the net. I think most teams would say they'd much rather play in front of 100 or 1,000 fans from the other team, because it makes for a loud environment, than play in front of 100 people who are not really cheering or doing anything. So I think it's great for our sport. It's great for Division II volleyball. It's great for our conference. We're not the only one who draws great crowds. There's a lot of other places in our league that draw great, and so these girls get a great experience playing in front of people.
In the annual coaches preseason poll, your conference has you contending for a conference championship once again. You had a bit of a dry spell as you haven't won this regular season title since 2014. Personally for you, how do you see the conference shaking out, and can you take home that hardware this year?
Well, first of all, thank you for sticking that needle into the arm. Certainly you hope you can compete. That's what we're trying to do, and that's goal number 1, is be competitive in your conference. It's not going to be easy. The national poll comes out and you see the number of teams from our conference in it, and I think that's even leaving out some of the quality teams that are just outside of that poll. So it's going to be a challenge. But yeah, absolutely, you got to go in with the mentality that you can compete. You know, we've got about 3 weeks before conference play start. We've got a lot of work to do to get ready for that. It's really what the first 2 tournaments are about, is preparing your team. And we'll know more in a little bit.
UMD begins their season in Fort Lauderdale starting September 1st at the NSU Shark Invitational. The Bulldogs' first home matchup is September 14th versus Minnesota Crookston. Coach, thanks for your time and best of luck in the season.
Appreciate it. Hope to see people in the gym.